Hello, I'm Theodore Gioia. Welcome to Fork Tongue, the forum sharpening the way eaters talk about food. Today, our topic is Bon Appétit and racism. Bon Appétit is America's leading food magazine with unmatched cultural cachet. This institution began in the 50s and has defined public eating in America ever since. In early June this year, the legendary food magazine Bon Appétit faced a firestorm after a photo of their editor-in-chief Adam Rapaport surfaced from his wife's Instagram, showing him in brownface for Halloween. Food Twitter exploded, with a range of revelations from current and former contributors sharing their horror stories about working with the magazine. But beyond interpersonal examples, a range of damaging revelations came to light about troubling professional practices, unequal pay for people of color, casual disparagement, and tokenization of non-white staffers. All this culminating in a call for Adam Rapaport's resignation. And by the end of the day, Adam announced his resignation on Instagram. The uproar got me thinking about the hypocritical way diversity operates in the mainstream media, especially food media. Because this scandal shattered the halo around Bon Appétit's wildly successful Test Kitchen YouTube channel. Now, this channel had built 6 million subscribers and had a cult following online, built around the personalities of the various hosts. There's memes, there's t-shirts, and you better believe there are subreddits. And it makes sense, because the lovable cast of characters had that tough love vibe that conjures a vision of a happy multicultural family. And this was by design. As the editor-in-chief explained, he was trying to build a brand that was modern and global, bringing in diverse cooks from various cultural backgrounds to share food from around the world. The cast includes stars like Andy Barragani, Sohla El-Waylly, Priya Krishna, and many more. But this image was a facade, as Sohla posted an Instagram essay confiding she was pressured to make unpaid appearances in YouTube videos, in addition to the duties of her full-time magazine editor job, explaining she was forced in front of the camera as a, quote, display of diversity. This embodies what I call decorative diversity. In decorative diversity, people of color are cast as secondary characters to adorn the backdrop, like a multicultural ornament to a white narrative. They're decoration, something added to make something else look pretty, an ornament in the dictionary sense of an embellishing note, not belonging to the essential harmony. This is often described as tokenism, and it is, but decorative diversity is subtly different in emphasis. Tokenism is defined as the appearance of fairness to prevent criticism, but here diversity is not only displayed to prevent criticism, but to affirm the white, liberal, tolerant self-image. Now, Candace Owens on Fox News, that's tokenism. But the promotion of people of color on Bon Appétit's YouTube channel is something different, and that difference matters. Here, diversity is not about creating equity for brown people, but validation for white people. Let's look at a couple examples of decorative diversity in action at Bon Appétit, and keep in mind that Sohla was not paid for any of these appearances.
Sohla, our
assistant food editor.
She's going to help us taste some cranberry thing.
Sohla, do you have a minute?
Sohla, do you have a minute?
Sohla, when you have a minute, you want to talk sugar? I came over to ask if you had time to temper chocolate at some point.
Hey, Sohla, can I ask you a question about technique real quick?
Do you mind explaining what tempered chocolate is?
Melt chocolate. There's like 5 or 6 different crystal structures that.
Oh, is that right? So I think that it's maybe the starch like going into retrogradation.
Retrogradation.
You know what, like when you hydrate the starch and then you cool it, it kind of stiffens up even further?
No. I believe you. Yeah.
Cool.
That's what I would like.
Well, maybe we'll have you on next year.
We've never been on camera together.
We have. Thanksgiving, right when I started.
Very forgetful.
We see here decorative diversity treats people of color as cultural ornaments in a white-led narrative. This pattern is replicated across TV and movies, from Marvel films to mainstream TV, but it takes on a particularly insidious form in food media. Such logic casts people of color as secondary figures, usually narrow experts in their ancestral cuisine or assistants, helping white staffers learn to cook.
Dosa, what's dosa?
It is a South Asian style crepe. They can be made with a bunch of different things, but we're going to do the
Do you think I need to toast my spices first, or do you think they're going to...
I don't usually.
You don't usually?
Yeah.
Where is it traditionally from? It's from a bunch of places, like versions all over the place?
Yeah, it's mostly India, but you can see it in Bangladesh and Pakistan too.
Oh, very cool.
The Sohla example is especially jarring. Even though Sohla is more experienced and qualified than many of her younger white colleagues, she does not get cast in the role of culinary expert but culinary assistant. In the dosa video, Bon Appétit positions Sohla not as the expert teaching everyone to make dosas, but as a mentor, helping Brad learn to cook them, offering Brad as a vicarious fill-in for the presumed white audience.
So walk me through it. What's that?
Wait,
Talk to me.
okay, we are using, well, I'm actually using, this is like specifically called dosa rice, but it's just it's a long grain white rice that's been parboiled, so it's kind of like an...
Wait, hold on. There's dosa rice? You didn't tell me there's dosa rice. You just said, just use any long grain rice. Turmeric? Hey, Sohla, how do you say this? Turmeric.
Now, I want to stop and unpack this pronunciation example, because this small piece is immensely revealing. If you were doing a strictly professional tutorial, wouldn't you cut out the scene with the teacher mispronouncing a key ingredient? So why did they leave this in? Because it's relatable. But relatable to whom is the question. And the answer is it's relatable to suburban white audiences who often don't know many non-European ingredients. So rather than be annoyed at Brad's unprofessionalism, we're charmed by his ignorance. Yet this is an insane double standard where white ignorance of foreign cultures is charming, room for growth and humility. But international cooks who don't know American foods are seen as ignorant. So we see decorative diversity derived from a perspective that assumes a white audience and approaches non-European cuisines as exotic seasoning to spice up their sort of weekday dinner roster. Writers of color presenting non-European dishes, therefore, must straddle this careful line between exotic and alienating, different enough to be interesting, but not foreign enough so it's unapproachable to white audiences. And approachability is paramount. This approachability fixation has kept many cuisines out of the magazine's pages, as the editors presumed it wouldn't appeal to their white readership. The subtext is that Bon Appétit does not pursue diversity for the representation of the marginalized, but the illumination of the mainstream. In other words, diversity is not an antidote for cultural inequity, but a remedy for suburban boredom. This subjugation of non-white cooks at Bon Appétit is cemented in contract details. Sohla's essay revealed that the contributors of color to the YouTube channel were either part-time or unpaid, while the white stars are full-time. In fact, the white staffers signed lucrative contracts with Condé Nast Entertainment, which is a separate division from the magazine itself, which offered major compensation and huge monetary incentives for video performances. This gap meant that the white YouTube stars often made twice as much as their non-white co-workers and sometimes quintupled the number of annual video appearances. And what's galling is that even after the scandal and months of bad press about racist practices, Bon Appétit still did not offer their non-white YouTube stars equal compensation, and even threatened they were interviewing other people of color willing to accept less pay to appear on the channel. This contract tells us that Bon Appétit does not view people of color, like Sohla or Priya, as essential voices on their channel who deserve long-term contracts, but rather part-time accessories. While white stars are unique protagonists who cannot be replaced, people of color are easily substituted. Big characters who don't deserve promises or incentives like guaranteed appearances or performance perks for video views. In the decorative diversity mindset, you're not hiring Sohla for her unique personality, but a representative experience, for her ability to speak for a collective rather than as an individual. In other words, people of color are interchangeable. One Korean cook is just the same as another in this mindset. And they're so interchangeable, in fact, that Rapaport apparently can't even tell the names of his non-white employees apart.
Sohla.
You just called me Sohla at...
Priya, I'm sorry. Oh my God, I'm sorry.
To translate all of this into capitalist terms, people of color are not stakeholders in Bon Appétit. Not stakeholders who deserve to financially benefit if the magazine prospers, because that's a status reserved only for white people. The reluctance to give a full-time, equally compensated contract to any of the non-white contributors on the YouTube channel lays bare the grim truth behind decorative diversity. Bon Appétit does not plan to tell a different story about American eating. White people still own the story of American food at Bon Appétit, and the magazine is simply negotiating how many more lines they need to give the supporting cast to allow the same show to keep running.